Hey, it's Doom here, Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half of DungeonSwag.com, and we have to pick out which miniature we're going to paint. It's the fifth one for the June minis. I'm pretty happy with the four we've done, and I want to continue on that. The theme for these has been like a green and brown kind of, because they're like barbarian or Viking or something, you know. So I'm just going to roll evens odds on this crappy foam die I made. So evens. And I actually am not as excited to paint this guy because I'm worried about not doing a good job. He has a lot of layers. So looking at him, I'd say probably want to start with his clothing. And I think what I want to do is I want to get that camo green that I'm using on his kilt. And I think I want to do his clothes in that too. I want to say something about brushes. I put my brushes in my mouth. And I know I'm not the only one who does this. But if you want your tip to stay sharp, it might be who of you to do the same. Alright, so I can't really do his clothes in that same green as I did the skirt, because I could do his sleeves, his like under sleeves popping out in it, but his vest thing has to be a different color for sure. Friend and I were talking, and he said I can't paint because my eyes aren't that good and my hands are really shaky. So I think I'm going to do a tutorial, not a tutorial, but like a paint job on not one of the swag minis that are from like a monthly box, but just like another swag mini. I think I'm going to do a swag mini where I show you guys how to dry brush a miniature down. It's like a very, like, really super easy technique where you just pick out like a miniature that is going to have a common color scheme, like all browns and maybe like a little bit of highlights here and there, and then just kind of go from there. I'll go ahead and paint those straps green. Alright, so I think we got it, most of it there. Yeah. Alright, let's rinse out our brush. I think I'm going to do that horn next. So I kind of want to lighten that horn up, but I don't want to get... Nah. This color is called Sand Golem. It's just another speed paint. I don't know how much time I really have because, well, I guess I have as long as it takes to paint the mini. But I do know that we ordered pizza. My two youngest boys have one of their friends over, one of their homeboys from school. Apparently we're going to have pizza. Because I started making pork chops, and there's not enough pork chops for everybody. I'm going to hit his boots up with this same color. I don't know if you guys do this when you paint, if you just like spin your mini around and flip it upside down and stuff like I do, but that's just so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to do the handle of the axe with this as well, actually. And then we might, it looks like there's some kind of leather wraps on this, so what I might do is like a little bit of a dry brush to kind of pick some of that up. Like I said, that little top notch of wood here, we gotta get that real easy. The reason we don't want to overpaint on this, because that silver, on some of these speed paints, unless they're super dry, the silver bleeds, and we don't want to be sitting here all day. Alright. Now his shield on his back, we're going to have to come back for that, I think. Let's do his belt with this color too. We'll get as much knocked out with this this color as we can. Oh, I went offline a little bit there. Instead of turning so I could see what I was doing. Alright. Rinse out my brush. Start on the dark stone on his cloak. On all these I've been using dark stone as the base coat. So the consistency between the miniatures has been the camouflage or the camo cloak green and this dark stone on the cloaks, and that's kept them all so where they match. Now the dry brushes on the cloaks have been a little bit different, and I say a little bit, I mean just slightly different. Now that's two different layers of fur right there, and we can either handle that with a dry brush or we can ignore that, but I'm not going to pull out two different base coats to make my life harder. He's got that bear on his shoulder. I had a really nice evening at work. I like my job. I'm very blessed. I work for the world's largest environmental firm, and sometimes I do things outside of my regular scope of duties, and I really enjoy learning new things and encountering new things in my journey, in my travels, and just getting to do different stuff. Makes the days go by. So if you look right here, see those little lines? That is supports from the print that ASCO didn't remove all the way. And I'm okay with that, but I do want to just kind of pop those out of there. Okay. So the cloak is base coated. His beard. Well, we gotta wait till some of the other stuff dries. So let's do his pant legs and his vest, I think. Yeah. So we're gonna get this dark wood. No, wait. Let's use this hardened leather. It's a little darker than the sand golem that we used on that other part. Get up underneath here and just remember, don't let those touch or they'll run together. My dogs are barking. I wonder if that means the pizza's here. I have 2 dogs. They are, one is a puggle, which is 1/2 pug, 1/2 beagle. Which, guess what? Pugs and beagles are my favorite 2 types of dogs. And the other one is a puggle, which is 3/4 pug, 1/4 beagle. Starting to come together here. I love it when a mini comes together. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, now we're going to do that vest. Actually, let me switch to a smaller brush because there's a lot going on with that vest that we don't want to get. I actually don't feel like smaller brushes they don't seem to do as well with the speed paints, in my opinion. They just kind of, you don't have enough paint on there sometimes to really get the pulling that you need in the recesses to get the full effect, unless you oversaturate. But when you're using a small brush, you don't want to oversaturate, right? Because you're trying to just get it in a certain area. It's just, I don't know. Maybe on like 40K minis and stuff it's better, because they're 32mm scale, I believe. But on this real tiny stuff, it's not ideal. Alright, I think we got most of that. Starting to come together. Let's stop and let all that dry and get the base going. Let's get this brush down. I eat all the yummy paint from inside of it. Grab some craft paint to do the base. For those of you that have seen me paint before, you know how I do these bases. I get some super glue, and I make a rough shape of how I want the dirt on the base to look. I just kind of spread it around, and then I dip it in baking soda. And then sometimes, oh shit, that's not, pardon my French. Sometimes I dip it in, I put a rock in it, and sometimes, and this time I didn't, but usually I put a rock on these. So we just want to make sure we get all the dirt. And we'll lighten that up once that starts to dry too. So we're done with that craft paint. Alright, so let's check out that shield. That's pretty detailed like the shield on the one we did. So let's get a really dark, this color is called dark oak. Let's stay inside the shield. Try not to get a bunch of this on the outer rim here, so that when we come back around, it's not a pain in the butt to re-silver that up. I'd like to get some down in here on this inner ring, because I don't think I want to make that all silver. I think I just want to do like the convex protruding part there silver, and then we want to get behind this shield with this too. And you gotta try not to get this on your cloak, or you're going to be super sad. Let me rephrase that. You may or may not be super sad. I will be super sad if I get it on my cloak. Alright, so there's this, let me get a smaller brush. There's this little ring around the medallion on his, like that holds his like cloak on. And I'd like to use this dark color to go around that. And I'd also like to do this belt across this chest, this bandolier or whatever, I think. So I'm using that smaller starter brush, the Army Painter starter brush that I have. Just get in there and darken that belt up. And then I want to go around this little circle here. Was it 2? I'm going to be real careful not to get it everywhere. Starting to come together. Things are looking pretty dry. I think we're going to start doing some of the metallic work. That shield's looking dryish. We're going to keep going with this small brush. Little plop of gunmetal there. And then we got some elbow pads here. So it was all about these elbow pads of these Vikings, these metal elbow guards. If you're not familiar, Sven is the artist who designs our prints. And he is a phenomenally talented sculptor. So we're going to hit that little dot there. We're going to hit that. We're going to wipe all that off, as much of that as we can off. And we're going to see if we can't hit this buckle without screwing it up. Come around to the back. Get this convex part. And then we got to do the ring around the shield. Don't eat your paint. Unless you want to. There are probably some cheaper things you could eat. Let's do that helmet. Alright, I think we got all the metallic except for the edge of this horn. Alright, well, let's go and see if we can't do some flesh work now. Now, right off the bat, we know we're going to stick with this smaller brush on the flesh work. And there's not a lot of flesh work on this dude. So we're going to get the Crusader skin speed paint first and find the skin. So we got his hand there holding the axe. We got the hand holding the horn. We got space. So we still got to do his horn and his beard yet. I think it was all the flesh we got, yeah. Alright, let's come down and check our base out. Is it dry? No, it's not dry. Alright. Start lightening up that cloak while we wait for that, because I'm pretty sure that's dry. So, I've had kind of like a browns and grays thing with the cloaks up to this point, because that dark stone color is kind of like a brown and a gray. Where did I put all that cardboard? Oh, there we go. It's all over the place. I cut a bunch of little pieces of cardboard for this kind of stuff. Alright, we want to wipe a lot of that off, but not all of it. We want to hit the highest areas the most. We want to lighten those up the most. And then we want to get a little bit more. Lighten it up a little bit more. Okay. Hit the highest areas. I'm going to ignore the lower areas completely. Get this bear's face pretty good. Starting to get some pop on that there. And when I talk about like easy dry brushing techniques, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like just like adding a lot of depth and a lot of I don't know, detail. Just dry brushing it and making it look like it's layered really well. Bear face is starting to pop pretty good. Now, our metallics are very bright. So let's clean that brush out. And we're going to use the same color that I'm going to use on his beard, which is this Gravelord Gray. You could use like a strong tone or whatever you like I guess you could really use whatever you want, a strong tone or a dark tone or whatever you want really to mute this stuff. But I think this Gravelord Gray is going to be the secret to our axe here. Let's mute that up. Take some of that bling away. Something like that. It's not as vibrant and obnoxious now. We're going to do the same thing to these knee pads and shoulder pads. Just subdue them a little bit. On the knee pads, you want to go a little darker. On the elbow pads a little bit less so. We're going to do the same thing on the helmet now. Make sure you don't get it on your horns. And we're going to do it on his beard, and we want to do this really thin. Alright, now there are some different details here, like some straps and stuff that we can use this on to give it a different look on the back side. So we can just add that into this step to pull out those straps a little bit. We'll do that on the backs of it, on his arms here for these straps too, if I can see them. Gosh, tiny. Just doll up that knob on that shield, that protrusion a little bit, and come around the sides here and just kind of get that. Just drag it around, doll up that metal a little bit. Alright. So I want his beard to be not so dark. So I'm going to get this ash gray. And I'm going to wipe a lot of it off. And I'm just going to come in here and just try to lighten that up some so it looks more like a white beard. And then I might, I don't know, I don't really see too much more I want to be playing with here. So I want to do something with that leather on his handle of that axe. For sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this monster brown here. And this is the same, I'm going to use this on the base right after. So I'm using kind of a crappy brush for this anyways. I'm wiping a lot of it off. This is more like kind of a traditional dry brush almost. And I'm just going to run down the length of this and pick up some of that leather handle detail. I'm going to hit a little bit on the outside here. And I'm going to come back up and down. And then I think I'm going to do a little bit of that on the shield back here. Lighten that up a little bit. Then I'm going to hit the base. Give it that mottled look, moodled, whatever it is. You know what I mean. Just by touching it around some spots. Then I'm going to lighten it up with a little bit of that gray. I'm going to really wipe a lot of that brownish gray off that I just made, and I'm going to come back and I'm just going to kind of hit it again. Alright, so we have to do flesh work. We know we have to do flesh work. And we got to paint this black around the edge. So let's do the black around the edge, then we'll go hit this flesh work up. Nice. Now this black around the edge thing, if you've been watching, you know that just means it's a fantasy miniature. I like to have a consistent theme. I looked down and saw my red X and remember to bring it back into the camera into the shot. Ooh, I'm getting hungry. I think we're about done here. Alright, antler time, dudes. Alright, so I have this pallid bone. And I think that will be killer on those antlers. All right. We got flesh work, my dudes, flesh work. All right, so we are out of spot on my tape here. I don't want to dirty a new tape up for this. All right, we're going to get this barbarian flesh. The skeleton bone. Get a little moisture from my tongue. Get our base color for that. I'm going to wipe some of that off. I hate to use the cardboard on that because it does really dry that off a lot. Alright. Let's pick up that handy too. Mostly just worried about the outside on this guy. Mostly. Now we gotta get in there. Catch his cheeks and eyes. Alright, we need to lighten up his cheeks and eyes a little bit more. Oh, God, I hate this. And let's just darken up or lighten up his top of his hands real quick and get a better look at his fingers. Alright, so I would say we could do some work on that shield. Let's lighten up his sleeves. I just think that's a little, even with the speed paint, it's a little flat for me. Alright. Didn't want to do it. Oh, shoot. Ran out of tape. It's alright. We got enough here to do what we're doing. Alright, what do I want to use to lighten those sleeves up? Well, I have this color here called green skin. Let's see how that does. Oop, it's very green. I think I've used it for other stuff. I must have because it was shaken up. Alright. Just get in there and just kind of touch around. Just lighten up that a little bit. Nothing significant, just want to give it a little bit of a different look. That's gooder. I don't know if I want to mess with that shield. You know what? Might as well, right? While we're at it. Fractional brush. I have one laying out, which you should never leave these laying out. Oh, I don't know if that's the way to go on that. That makes me nervous. Alright. Oh, you know what else I need to do is I need to lighten up that circle around there with some gray. Alright, fractional brush. We can do a test run here. The secret to this is going to be patience. I don't think I'm going to like the way this looks. Not a problem. So, if you're unhappy with something like that, let it dry for a minute. I want to lighten up around that shield while we're waiting. So you want to get your smaller brush. Or not shield, that little dot, whatever that metal thing is. I don't know the technical term for it. The big weird thing holding his bear on. Just lightening up some other details that I wanted to touch while I was. Kind of want to go with some silver over some of that stuff again. I know that I did not like that that green on the shield this time. I did it on one of the other guys and I liked it, but on this I think I just don't want to get into that. That looks pretty dry. I'm going to get a darker brown. This dark oak. As I suspected, that was merely a bebel. Cover that up. Alright. Let's zoom in and see what we else... Oh, we need to do the ground. Oh, look, I missed some... Man, I must be getting old. So, up under his horn here... was a little piece of... two little pieces of support. Got him. Not doing his eyes. I just really don't feel confident getting in there. I am going to touch up this metal real quick. Give the axe an edge again. Using shining silver, which is really bright. And we're just going to come along the edge first. And we're going to come around. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just going to hit some of that. And I want to kind of touch the tops of these pads. Lighten those up a little bit. I just want to do the very top of his helmet. And that nose guard. Alright. I forget what I was doing. Oh, the shield. We're going to leave that for a minute. We'll come back to that. Let's get a sheet brush. Some clear glue. You want this brush to be kind of stiff. You can push it down into any of the cracks and crevices you have. You want to pick out where you want to have your flock. You can use any color you want, any size you want, but I've been using this Woodland Scenics. I think it's Woodland Scenics. Honestly, it's probably 20 years old, but I've been using this a lot lately. Oh, there's a piece of brush in there. Oh well, they can live in there. Because I've really liked the contrast of this green on this brown a lot, and I just think it's, even though it's not realistic, I just think it looks good. So let's do, I'm going to do a lighter brown on this shield. So I'm going to get that same brown there and a dip of this yellow. Let's flip this around to get a clean spot. Okay, let's just come in here. Give that a little bit of, just a little bit of sticky outiness. I don't know what to call it, a little bit of pop. Oh, what is that? Is that silver showing? Oh, there's the slightest bit of silver showing right there. Let's see if we can't cover it up with that. Not perfectly. Alright, but it's fine. We're at about 50 minutes. I think we're looking pretty good here. This is not the best one we've done, for sure. But he's not bad. He's good enough for D&D, right? If you guys agree, let me know. If you don't agree, too bad. We'll hit some of that accent with that color, too. I kind of like that. We'll do the boots, outside the boots with it a little bit, too. Why not? Give him a little more. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to clear coat dude, and then we'll take him upstairs and throw him on the table and see what he looks like in play. Catch a screen or a thumbnail for that. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. This has been Doom from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. If you like the stuff we're doing here, if you like the miniatures, if you want to be part of what we're doing, go to www.DungeonSwag.com and you can get 25% off your first month's subscription for the loot boxes, where you can buy some of the one-off miniatures. The loot boxes essentially come with 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 sometimes, miniatures that you can build small war bands with, or it's a group of heroes, or it's a couple different types of monsters that you don't need a bunch of. And we try to really make a box that can populate your table very inexpensively. So check in the description is the discount code, and if you join our Discord, Asco has a thing to get a free miniature at no expense to you, mailed directly to your house. I think that includes shipping and everything. There's some rules on that. He handles that kind of side of it, so just check that out. It should be pretty sweet. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.